Thank you so much for joining us this evening for this amazing session, Yoga as Light. I don't probably have to show this because everybody's here, but this is a esteemed master teachers conference, live conference to talk about yoga as light to the self and to the world. And I'm so happy and honored to have David Swenson in Hong Kong, Lisa Walford in Oregon, Mary Taylor and Richard Freeman in Asheville, North Carolina, and Vikram Jeet Singh is joining from Goa to join as a moderator. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and everyone who is joining us today for this conversation. We started Yoga Gives Back 19 years ago, and there is ups and downs, but during COVID, I really felt I didn't know how to survive, but yoga community came as real light for us. And right now, we all feel like really a little bit dark, lot of darkness in the world. And I'm sure a lot of you who are listening today feel that this is like yoga or meditation practice, whatever is helping us. So we wanted to shed light upon this topic, especially a time like this. And I'm so honored to have our teachers who can shed their wisdom, their lived experience, and so on. So thank you so much. And just for information, this event is supporting our Global Gathering for India campaign, which we've been running for 3 months now. It's ending end of July, and so far we raised over $42,000. Thank you so much. And our goal is 60,000. Every dollar is matched by a matching fund. And this will help more than 3,500 women and children in India. Some of them are here, Professor Jayadev, Durga, Nisarga from Dinabandhu that we've worked for so many years together. So thank you. And I would love, instead of me introducing everyone, like as usually I do, but I think it's much more interesting if everybody does, teachers does your self-introduction and maybe add a little bit of why you support YGB at the end. That'd be great. So shall we go with the alphabetical? David first, please.
Hi, I'm David Swenson. I'm so honored to be here with my friends and colleagues and all of you joining. Um, I don't know, I like it more when you introduce me. But I grew up in Texas, and because everyone does yoga there, that's why I started doing yoga.
A
I
long time
started there
ago.
a long time ago, yeah. Um, at any rate, I started yoga there in 1969 and ran into Ashtanga in 1973 and just kept doing it. And I'm in Hong Kong at the moment teaching and enjoy the practice and think that it is a powerful tool. And I don't know what else to say. I'm happy to be here. And yes, yoga gives back. What a phenomenal thing. And Kayoko, you are an angel. You are an amazing person. And I'm here because of you and the good work you're doing. And I would stay up all night I wouldn't miss this. So thank you, Kayoko. You're an inspiration.
No, thank you so much. Um, Lisa, please.
Good morning. So I know David from the 1980s. I first met Richard, I think, in 1984. So I have been practicing yoga since 1982 in Los Angeles and was introduced to Iyengar yoga in particular at a point in my life that was very, very, very dark, and found that, there's something about a collective, a group, and the practice, the individual and the group, that sustained me through, that transition in my life. And we all go through dark phases at some point, individually, collectively. So I teach Iyengar yoga and would visit my guru in India regularly. And now having moved to Oregon, where nobody has heard of Iyengar yoga, I could be kind of like Texas back in the 70s, David. No, I can be just that little spark to add a little bit of kind of spice to the more general yoga population here. And also, Kyoko, yoga gives back. Just the thought that this place, India, that was such a refuge for me, that I can kind of give back a little bit to young women who would otherwise, or men who would otherwise be going through really traumatic lives, feels like such a full circle. So, in gratitude.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Richard and Mary, maybe Mary first.
Okay. Hey there, everyone, and thank you, Kayoko, for pulling this together. And as you have done with so many events and your work over the years, you have been a huge inspiration to so many of us. And to see the way your work has evolved and how it's taken a life of its own, and really helped so many people, men, women, children, adults, and yoga teachers, yoga practitioners around the world. So thank you, thank you. We're very honored to be here. And my introduction to yoga was during a difficult phase in my life too, Lisa. At university, super stressed out, and a compulsive personality type. So the combination was bad. And yoga is what really helped me to get through that period of time. And over the years, it was back in the early 70s, like 1970. And I evolved from doing sort of a generic, yoga into, in the 80s, started Ashtanga yoga. And the practices with the asana and the meditation and the pranayama have really sort of molded my life. I didn't plan on that happening, but it's been a good thing. And for me, a huge part of this practice is also interfacing it with the interest I have in Buddhist studies. And as you were saying, Lisa, the idea of having a group of people who you relate to and the teachings. And that's, the three jewels of the Buddhist teaching, is that you have the teachings themselves, your teacher and teachers, and then the Sangha. And for me, that has been this amazing part of doing yoga. And this group here on this Zoom, all of you who've joined, as well as Kyoko, you, and Vikram, for pulling it together. This is part of that, that picture, that Sangha. And so thank you.
Thank you so much. Richard, please. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. I became obsessed with yoga back in the 60s. Um, and but my and I had people were inspired by I think Soma, or you know, you'll have to look that up. But my first actual teacher was the Roshi at the Chicago Zen Center, and then I became involved with the early Hare Krishnas, and at a certain point I developed a distaste for the pushiness that a certain group of them were doing. So I went off to India and became a sannyasin and traveled around, and it was nice to see so many different people doing similar things, but slightly differently. And so I really developed this sense of what I like to call generic mysticism, where where even if you're in one particular discipline or group, everybody is different. And then if you get all of these different groups to actually communicate with each other, and they see each other, and go, wow. So I have been highly influenced by Mr. Iyengar, who very dear to me, and then by Tavi Joyce and the Ashtanga Vinyasa method, but being, but I like to adapt it to whatever works for people. And, so here we are. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Richard. Vikram, please.
Namaste. Thank you. Very, very grateful to be here in such esteemed company. And I agree with David Kayoko. This is much better when you read off, a little paragraph about us, as us trying to like decipher what we should say about ourselves in first person. So I'll keep it brief, short and sweet. I live in Goa, India, with my daughter. I am a yoga practitioner, yoga teacher, Ayurveda practitioner and teacher. Very passionate about bringing this wisdom to the modern day practitioner and helping them find relevancy. I approach most of this wisdom primarily through yogic texts such as the sutras, Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya, a few Upanishads. And I guess it took me a while to realize that outside of the shapes that I was making with my body or helping other people make shapes with their body, I'm really invested in finding a deeper purpose, a deeper meaning to this life, and seeing how can I help other people in my circle of influence in any capacity find that purpose, find that meaning. So that's kind of what this second half of life is, I feel, going to be about. I'm very passionate about writing, and I just put out my first book called Living the Yamas and the Niyamas. And it's been really nice to kind of see that that dream come true. I think I met Kayoko and Yoga Gives Back 2014, 2015. I can't remember. It's been a while. And just seeing that YGB, Yoga Gives Back, I was sold. I was like, I don't care if you're a t-shirt company, if you're just, into fridge magnets, which thankfully you're not, you do something a lot more meaningful and deep. But just reading that, I still remember that moment. It's like, yoga gives back. Amazing. Let's read more. And thank you, Kayako. I mean, I'm not big on making claims of ethnicity, but simply from a place of gratitude to see all of this effort, time, money, care, everything that you and people who support YGB come back to India is more gratifying than I'll ever be able to express in words. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone's heartfelt support, because without those, we cannot continue to grow. So again, thank you so much. So please, Vikram, lead it from here. I will disappear. So thank you everyone for being here.
Okay, so the esteemed panel, they are not veterans just because they're veterans been teaching yoga for so long and so skillfully, but they've also been around this panel before, so they kind of know what to expect. But for the benefit of everybody else, I have some questions that I've penned down that would help support a meaningful conversation for all of us, especially around the concept of light. And I'm gonna kind of go around the panel asking questions, creating some space for these great teachers to share something from their own experience, their lived embodied practice, their wisdom. If at any point there's something that resonates, you have a follow-up question, please go ahead and put that in the chat, and I'll make sure that we create some space, some time for that as well. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna take Kayoko's lead, at least for the first question, and go alphabetically. More so, this is an inside joke because David has no idea what I'm going to ask him. So I'm going to start with David. Okay.
He's exhaling.
Yeah. And no pressure, David. I know it's like 10 p.m. and you probably had a full day, but let's go deep into this.
There are no excuses.
Okay.
Whatever comes out of my mouth, I'll stand behind it.
Done. Okay. So the word light, Deep, Jyoti, Prakash, whatever you want to call it, the word light, it appears a lot through the yoga tradition, actually through most wisdom traditions. And I wanted to ask you that what does that concept of light mean to you in your practice and by extension in your teaching?
I like the description of what a guru is. And it's if I'm in a cave and I have a candle, but it's not lit, I have no way to light it. I'm stumbling around. And back in the recesses of this dark cave, I see a little glow. So I'm drawn to it. I walk over there, and there's a person sat there with their candle, and it's lit. And they say, "Oh, you want to light your candle?" They extend the candle, and I touch the wick of mine. Boop, I have light.
Mm.
So darkness to light, guru. In my personal opinion, the guru is not a person, but a practice itself. And to truly know light, we have to know darkness as well, or there would not be light. So sometimes we must experience both. Yeah. So the practice, if we think of it as a light, it can help to illuminate that which is um, yet thus far unknown. However, I believe that the greatest thing that it can illuminate are questions rather than answers. Answers tend to be a bit overrated. And so if we use our light to shine as a way of seeking, so I think of the practice as a tool that makes questions percolate. And then from those questions, we're driven forward. The word question contains the word quest.
Mm.
So I think that light is a valuable thing, but without darkness, we wouldn't know what the light is. So in the practice, yes, um, I believe that it's a light to help us to seek. That's how I would view it.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love the analogy of the candle and then the quest and then the seeker who is in that quest. Thank you. Very, very eloquently said. Lisa, how about you?
Well, what David said, and it takes me back to that this is the quest of millenniums, if you would say, that the image in the cave, and that all we see is the shadow. We can't quite see where the light comes from. That is a seminal going back ages, that metaphor. So it's so poignant. When I get on the mat, when I practice, and that's not only on the mat, but as I carry that relationship out into the world, whether it's my shoulder, whether it's fatigue, whether it's ambition, I kind of try and cultivate a neutral place where I listen. I listen to what arises. And from that, I can kind of identify those shadows, whether it's, kind of a quirky shoulder, or I stayed out too late the night before or something, and I call those shadows. I mean, as David mentioned, we wouldn't have light without. And as I love Leonard Cohen's song Anthem, that the crack is where the light comes through. So as I can sit with the discomfort, be it physical, emotional, and recognize that in a way is the shadow, is the density. And through kindness, through patience, through perseverance, cultivating a very non-judgmental and kind attitude, I think that those become the tools. That is, as Mary said, that is the teaching and the practice itself and the community, the sangha. So as I and kind of slowly over the years, it's a lifelong quest, um, and there's a residue from just being in that deep listening state that goes through the day and that becomes the refuge. You know, uh, so light both as the quality in the candle in the sun, but also light isn't something that is not heavy that drags me down, but something that is more buoyant.
That's beautiful. A great transition from the seeker, the quest. Some of the words that you were saying, they so landed, whether I think of them as a teacher, as a practitioner, resilience, compassion, understanding, guidance. That's a beautiful way to look at what a light from the lens of what a practice, or for those of us, for those of you or those of us who teach, what that could mean in terms of transmitting that forward. Thank you. Mary.
Yes, so building on all of this, as I'm thinking of it, what light really represents to me is this essence that each of us know in a visceral sense, the feeling of the light of who we are deep inside, that sometimes becomes obscured by our own circumstances or the world's circumstances, or just out of habitual patterning, etc., etc. And when I really touch into what that feels like to me, to touch into a spaciousness where there is sort of an infinite sense of light, that's what yoga does automatically when we step out of the way and let it happen. If we try to make that happen, it never works. But, this sense of really touching deeply into our own essence, which as we touch in and ask questions, as you're saying, David, more and more we begin to see it's not our light. It's beyond us as an individual, but it's this light that connects us all in a very intriguing way that keeps us coming back. And for me, this feeling of lightness, yes, it's a physical sense of not being heavy necessarily, but it's a sense of coming home. And that's, to me, what yoga provides for me as an individual, but I see it happening in so many others who practice. And so I just tossed that into the mix.
No, that's beautiful. I actually forgot. Lisa had also used the word refuge. And then hearing you say home kind of brought that memory back. And also you touched on something super deep and super profound, which we almost take for a given, is that it's infinite. There really is um, no end to how bright, or the capacity of how that light can shine for ourselves or other people who we would like to share that light with. Back to David's analogy, whether a guru or someone else who would extend that candle. Um, and there is no hoarding there, because it is it is infinite. You will never run on low battery or dim light,
Yeah. And
Um,
what's there to hold on to?
exactly. Okay, Richard.
No. Um, I think, oh, thank you, by the way. This is causing inquiry. And the light is that ability to really kind of perceive things as they are, and it allows you to kind of stay with things. And it could be, and it's like my mind always takes things literally, like, where's the actual light? And should I wear sunglasses in class? And I don't think I'm the only one. There are people who they just can't stand darkness because they worship light. and yet the darkness is really just as sacred as the light, and how to kind of be with whatever is there with this kind of, and the light is really the insight, the ability to perceive what is profound. And I've been thinking of, and I think in, yoga practices and just religious practices all over the place, we become attached to an image, an ideal of light, and then we grasp at it. I want to be really bright, brighter than everybody else, and I can't stand the darkness. And I think, like in the Bhagavad Gita, this happened to Arjuna. He finally learned bhakti, and then finally in the 11th chapter he says, "Oh, by the way, can you show me, this infinite light?" And and there was probably a little laughter in the background, and it's as if a thousand suns rose simultaneously in the sky, and it was quite exciting. And what happened was after a number of verses, it started to degenerate into something very scary, because it was Arjuna still had this part of him that was grasping and holding on and wanting, but eventually he saw, oh, what really counts is this. It's the light is it's really the ability to see others and to interact with others, rather than some image we have of brightness. But it's really the ability to interact with everything, and just like other people, is a good place to start. So, anyway.
Thank you for that, Richard. If you do ever actually end up teaching a class with sunglasses on, please make sure you share that with all of us. I would like to see that as well. And I think that was a beautiful reference, right? Arjuna's space goggles is Divya Chakshu for the Virat Roop. And it's true, right? We all love the initial aspect of light, and then you start seeing the potential, the power, and everything else that it comes with. So that's a great segue. And if you don't mind, Richard, I'll have you go first for this one. Across all four of you, there was subtle and direct reference to darkness and the correlation between darkness and light, either in terms of appreciating light more or understanding that there is multiple facets to everything. So we, fortunately or unfortunately, it's a lived reality for all of us. We live in a slightly difficult time, in a slightly turbulent time. And it's kind of been like that. And I would love to see things change, but we'll see, right? One day at a time. So in this time of collective difficulty, collective turmoil, first time in my lived experience, collective suffering, there's no isolated parts of the world that are suffering. We are all caught up in this in some aspect of it. From your perspective, would you like to offer something that specifically speaks to that? And that could be a part of a tradition. It could be part of a wisdom school. I know between you and Mary, you have lots of experience through Buddhist and Zen schools. Anything that you'd like to share that has kind of helped you navigate this time of collective suffering, difficulty, darkness? And if there's something specific from the tradition that you study or practice that you'd like to draw out from.
What's really helpful for me is when I look at the situations all over the world, is to kind of appreciate the deeper history of the different peoples involved, because then I can feel, I can relate to them, and to feel, compassion or outrage if there's, human rights abuse occurring. And so it's really the ability to see through different religious approaches, and to see that somewhere at the bottom of all of those religious approaches is this experience, by some poets or sages or what we say seers, people who have the light, and it's like wow, and so I think that we're in a time in the world where we are really at a rapid pace starting to appreciate all of the different cultures all around the world, that there's depth there, that there's beauty there.
Thank you. What would you add to that, Mary?
Well, yeah, I totally. This is what we talk about half the day. And, a couple of things. One is that our good friend and mentor, Joan Halifax, who I work with every year, who's a Buddhist Zen practitioner, and she, you come and you talk about these times and people use euphemisms, these are interesting times, these are difficult times, these are complex times. And her euphemism, which, she says, no, don't use those terms. Look at this as these are rich times. In other words, they are times where we have the invitation to engage and to really think deeply and to act in truth and to act with an extreme sense of responsibility and kindness and compassion towards ourselves, but also towards others. And as you're saying, Vikram, the suffering is profound. And yes, suffering is always there, but it is, I think we are so much more aware of it because of these times, because of the social media and the way people are communicating, etc., and because it becomes infectious. And if we don't see it, we can't do anything about it. So it's important that we do see the suffering, but that we also don't get pulled into the undertow of it. And for me, the thing that can help is to pause, to notice when my nervous system gets kind of overstimulated by, things that are going on personally or in the world. And to just take a deep breath out, feel my feet on the ground, and consider what can I do that will serve in this situation. And sometimes knowing that what I can do is very clear, but many times it is simply being there as present as I possibly can, and maybe not being able to do anything, but to be with it.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I think the gift of presence is really a gift, in today's time and age. Presence for anybody, ourselves included.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to not be present for ourselves in the times that we live in. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Lisa.
When I look back over history, difficult, rich times, there are so many examples. Mahatma Gandhi, the great Mahatma would say, remember, love always conquers hate, always. And Martin Luther King, I have a dream. And even the Civil War, which was here in this country, the US, which was horrific, but it was a way to recognize that something unjust was happening. And, people were willing, as Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita did, to recognize these two forces of, since we're using darkness and light, or ignorance and insight, and Arjuna in his presence kind of sat with that reality and realized that his duty was to stand up and fight. And certainly in the Civil War, then when we brought equal rights to this country and the suffragette movement, so kind of when I look at the arc the cyclical arc of darkness to light, and the all over the world, where this same where the waxing tide then shifts into kind of suffering. Even the Buddha, told the woman who said, "Please save my son." And then the Buddha said, "Well, you must go into the village and find one person who has not suffered." And then the woman came back and said, this is a reality. This is life. So to kind of recognize that we have an instinctual nature, that I think is more fight, flight for resources, for power. And then we have this, this intuitive, this discernment, this wisdom. And it can be, and this is yoga, a very definitive practice, that when things are dark, to remember, that there is a way to sit within the uncertainty and not be dragged into the undertow, but brought uh, brought Obama hope, and faith, which are intrinsic virtues in the Yoga Sutras. So um, it's it's less about me, although we each individually have our own catharsis. But how, as Mary said, how can I be present and available to, be it through a smile, be it through a donation, be it through a yoga class, just be in service.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I really love that concept of faith, right? It's when not taught in religious terms or very strict academia terms, it has the potential to be infinite, to go back to what Mary was saying, right? Just this very concept of faith. Thank you for sharing that. David.
Vikram, would you mind repeating the question?
Not
Because
at all.
it sort of merged from one thing into another, and I just want to get the
Of course. The question is, what does yoga, and you can think of any broad tradition, body of wisdom that you would like, but what does yoga ask of us in times of collective difficulty? And does the tradition offer anything specific for that? And you can read that tradition as your own lived practice, your experience, anything that you'd like to share on that.
one thing I've noticed is in times of struggle and when it appears that evil people or violent people are rewarded and humble and peaceful people are diminished, one can begin to lose faith in things like karma and say, well, how is this possible? It doesn't seem fair, right? Like we believe that you do something bad happens, but somebody does something bad and it seems like, they just carry on. Yeah. So it can shake our faith a little bit. However, I was teaching in Berlin, Germany, not so long ago, and it dawned on me that my father dropped bombs on that city. That was not that long ago. And here I was teaching yoga in a city where my father was flying over in a American bomber dropping bombs. And I said, wow, as extreme as things can become, there's a pendulum that swings. And it's difficult to, maybe impossible to understand the bigger picture and what is on the other side, but things are in motion. It's constantly in motion, and sometimes it requires a pendulum to swing to extremes. It's challenging for humans to find a middle path, especially you have to choose sides nowadays. Even in politics, it used to be considered a strength if a politician could sit down and negotiate with the opposing party and find common ground. But in Kali Yuga, this is considered a weakness. You cannot give an inch. You have to hate someone with an opposing view. In a class the other day, I was speaking and saying, many times we practitioners of yoga can gain a sort of um, elevated view of ourselves. Oh, we're compassionate, we're loving, we're kind, we're open hearted. I say, but many times, if you really delve into it, we realize we are that way if we're surrounded by people that look like us, eat like us, dress like us, think like us, practice like us. Then we're the fine, open, loving, compassionate people. If we want to put that to the test, it's necessary to sit down with people with totally opposite political views, dietary choices, and everything else, and have a dialogue. And that is the most difficult thing, but it's the only thing that's going to save the planet is if we can communicate with those that have opposite views. Otherwise, we just perpetuate this thing of we're right, they're wrong. We have our tribe and we're so superior because we're the holy ones. And it's just going to keep going like that. Um, and when problems are so huge, we can become overwhelmed and feel like, well, there's nothing I can do. And my colleagues here, you're far more learned than I in these traditional Vedic stories and writings. So my apologies. I'm getting the gist of the story. Okay, you guys can do the fact check for me. So just to make a point. So there's Ram and Sita. Sita is Ram's wife, and this evil guy comes and kidnaps Sita and whisks her away to the island of Lanka. Well, Ram's a little pissed off about this and he wants to get his wife back. So he's going to build a bridge from the tip of India to Sri Lanka. Well, this requires a lot of material and stuff. And so Hanuman, his great, powerful monkey warrior, is throwing entire mountaintops and boulders into the sea, just incredible amount of material. At the same time, there's a little ant dropping one little grain of sand into the ocean at the same time. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And Hanuman goes, come on, ant. What's that, man? Come on, one grain of sand. I'm throwing whole mountains into the sea. Look, I'm doing the real work here, and you're just slowing me down. You're going to get hurt. Move out of the way, ant. Ram hears this. He overhears this. He goes, oh, Hanuman, it is true. You are my great and powerful devotee. However, you're misunderstanding this circumstance. That ant is doing equal work to you according to his capacity. So some people listening, they might be the Hanumans of the world, people in positions of great power or wealth or whatever it is. But all of us can be an ant and figure out some tiny thing to do. And you get a billion people doing a tiny thing, it's a big thing. And a tiny thing can be as simple as offering a smile to someone, open a door for someone. Simple human kindness can create a ripple effect. And so, yes, it's easy to be overwhelmed, and yes, things are difficult. But if you look beyond it, there are also people doing wondrous things, that are helping others. Kayoko, what she's doing, but all of us can do something. You'll be surprised how just a small thing can go a big way. Occasionally, I'll go into a grocery store and I'll just pay for someone's groceries. I never do it personally if they have alcohol or cigarettes, but if it looks like kind of healthy food, I'll just pay it and walk away. Or small things that it's not even about the money. People suddenly feel like, wow, there's something positive. So all of us can be an ant, and that can give us hope because one person inspires another and another and another, and it's infectious,
It's a beautiful story, David. Um, yeah. All right. we'll have Kayoko send us all pledges. We pledge to be ants, and we will do our little tiny grain of sand day in and day out. But I have a question for you, quick follow-up question. You did a great impersonation of that ant. So when Hanuman was throwing the big boulders, what did that sound like in the water? I just want to hear what that sounded like. There we go. There we go. Now the story is complete. Thank you
Okay.
for that.
And I don't know how accurate the story is, but my good friend David Williams says in his North Carolina accent, well, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Well,
But but I think the story is relatively gets the gist of the
yeah,
story there.
100%.
Okay.
I'm in no position to add myself in the same authority as David Williams. What I'll add to that statement is that, and if you're playing with some really, really important characters, then it doesn't really matter. The truth would not get in the way. And you're all the great characters out there. So perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Which is beautiful. And if you don't mind, Lisa, I'll start with you for this question. And it's a great segue. I think David's already has you set up for the strike, if you will. If a student came up to you and said, I want my practice to matter beyond the mat, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that by asking the question, they're already on the path. That intention to serve, intention to be the change we wish to see in the world, is itself taking the first step. And as that analogy with the ant, it can be a very, very small thing. And it's the small things, it's the giving itself that, the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, it is in the giving that we receive. All the motor neurons in my body start to tingle. That's the first thing that I would say. And whether it is a smile or a gesture or paying someone's groceries, or there are so many little examples, walking someone's dog who can't get out of the house. Those things make a big difference. Think global, act local. And I know in many teacher training programs, there's one of the requirements is to do, or one of the suggestions is to do something of service in the community. So we recognize that we are a continuum. First, and the democracy of the body, we learn through the relationship that we cultivate with ourselves on the mat. That patience, that kindness, that tenacity. So when things are difficult, we still show up. From cultivating that relationship, then we can take that out into the world. I like the image of equilibrium and equanimity. So if I have to really cultivate equilibrium in my own life, and that means doing my practice, and that in itself, for some people, is in service. That if our practice on the mat helps us be gentler, kinder, then everybody around us benefits from that. So the karmic reproductions start with the relationship we have with ourselves. And by even asking that question, it shows the intention. So.
Thank you. You already had us going on this conversation, David. Anything else you would add in terms of practical, embodied, tangible examples you'd like to share with people who are watching? How could one practice off the mat? How could their practice make an impact beyond the mat?
Just be a little kinder to one another. Very simple. Yeah, I think that we humans tend to overcomplicate matters, whether it's spirituality or love or whatever. We tend to overcomplicate it. Even in a relationship with with a loved one, writing a little note, I love you, or in their lunchbox, or, just it's these tiny things that just make so much difference rather than overcomplicating it. Just keep it so simple. Yeah. We can't change or most of things in the life we cannot control. The weather, the economy, if there's going to be violence, we can only control how we respond and react to things. So if someone wants to know how to carry this off the mat, it's just applying it within real life circumstances. Be a little more patient with your kids. Uh, become a compassionate bank teller, a gas station attendant, whatever it is, that it it still comes back to that the interactions with one another. It doesn't have to be magnanimous. It can be, that's wonderful, but it all starts from small things. Um, there's another story of a woman. It was in Africa, and all the trees had been chopped because people needed fuel and to cook and whatever. So the trees were gone, and one villager decided one day to plant a tree. And another villager was like, "Wow, that's cool. She planted a tree. I'll plant a tree." Since they planted something like 1 billion trees, it became a whole empowering political movement and empowering women and growing forests. But she went out and planted a tree.
Mm.
And, so yeah, go out into your world. I believe that really the purpose of yoga is to get on the mat, increase prana, go out there into the world and make it a better place. But what we risk sometimes becoming, yoga can become this incredibly selfish pursuit. I want this, I want that, and I get all this good juice, but now I'm supposed to just gently place my body in a cotton box so that I don't disturb my good prana the rest of the day and just hoard it all. But really, if you get the good energy, go out and share it, man. Share the love and be creative. Nobody has to tell you how to do that. You can figure it out. I think that's the exciting bit. How to go and find some good work to do.
Thank you. Thanks for that, David. Mary?
Yeah, I think, to be conscious when you step off your mat. In other words, we really cultivate the capacity as we practice, especially, in a meditative form in the asana rather than in the grasping way you're talking about, David, where we're doing it for ourselves, when we're paying attention to what the body's telling us and what the breath is doing, etc. We cultivate the capacity to stay aware and conscious. And as we step off the mat, to take that practice with us, because no matter what you do, when you step off your mat, you're taking it with you. So you may end up having that grasping, it's all for me, feeling, and that goes out into the world too. And so to be really aware, having those moments where you have a moment of, and it's just one breath's worth of self-reflection when someone cuts you off at a stop sign and, you're ready to go and you're, instead saying, whoa, that's this impulse in me that's being triggered that when I was on my mat, that wasn't there. And so how do you cultivate more and more moments of that spaciousness, of that light that we were talking about, off the mat? And then, as you're saying, David, it comes naturally that the goodness from that spills out automatically. It's not like you make the decision to do it. You have the intention, like you said, Lisa, to remain conscious. And then you're not always conscious. You're not always good. But then on occasion, you remember. and that builds over many, many, many years. And at the ends of the practice, formal practice time, remembering to say, as we do in the finishing chant, we offer it to others, the good that came from this, rather than holding on to it for ourselves, reminding ourselves over and over.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, off the mat, you've still got the same things going on that are on the mat. You've got sensations, you've got varied emotions in your belly, you've got friends or enemies in your heart that are won't go away, and it's really the it's like when you take it, so you're taking the practice off the mat, but you're still doing the same. You're still breathing, and you're still feeling, and you're still being amazed at either the nonsense that your own mind comes up with, or that the rest of the world comes up with. It's and I think gradually there won't be a difference on and off the mat. So the whole world will be this big yoga mat. And
I love that. I absolutely love that. I was saying to someone, we should pass a law. For those of you who have, some political connections, make a few phone calls for me. Let's pass a law that says stop telling people to go to yoga. Ask them to be yoga. Because what do you do once yoga is over? Like 6 to 7, I'm at yoga, and at 7 or 2, who are you then, or where are you then? So thank you. The whole world is a yoga mat. I love that. And Richard, just for the record, I forget all my enemies in Pincha Mayurasana. That's when I'm absolutely focused. Once that's done, I think of the enemies again. David's chuckling. He does that for warm up even before he's fully awake. Kayoko, are we doing okay on time? Can I do one round of one more question each?
oh, thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind, we'll stick with Richard, Mary, the two of you. Either one of you can answer first. One of the things that I see a lot in just wellness spaces, not necessarily spiritual spaces, but wellness spaces, is the use of the word transformation. Everything is being transformed, and not necessarily over time, very quick transformations. So from that perspective, we speak of transformation in our line of work, right? In yoga as well. From your experience, from your knowledge, from your own relationship with it, what advice, suggestions would you give to us that would kind of indicate what authentic as it's possible in your lived experience, transformation would look like, as opposed to just feeling more comfortable?
That's a good one. Thanks for giving it to us first.
I mean, you're a team,
No,
right? There's
joking.
2 of you, so yeah.
I'm joking. As you're talking, it was hitting me that, when we sort of codify a word like that in the public square, it then becomes something people want, and it becomes an object. So I'd say the first thing is to really look at how we are objectifying the idea of transformation and running away from maybe the darkness towards what we perceive of as the light, or, etc. Like, rather than objectifying it, recognizing that, as David said, and we all know, everything is constantly changing. And so, yes, everything is constantly transforming. We don't need to help it along in terms of the process itself. What we can do is contribute so many of the things we've been talking about: the sense of authenticity, the sense of integrity, the sense of truth, the sense of kindness and meaning. And we can cultivate those capacities, and then the transformation that happens reflects that, rather than I am going to transform and become a taller person, which I've been trying to do for the last 70 years and it hasn't worked. So, it's this whole thing of the concept of it. And so sometimes we think, oh, my emotions or my dark states of mind transformed. But one other word that kind of softens that in my own perspective is transmutation. In other words, like letting this process happen rather than transcending it, coming above it, or transforming it, but letting it organically change. So I can't quite remember what the question was, but something along those lines.
No, that's great. That's great. I think that can serve as a beautiful reminder. And I love what you said, that we willingly or unwillingly might be playing into that false narrative where we are advocating, advertising, selling this magic pill, this transformation, and maybe having people, disinterested or losing faith in it. So I love that perspective. And I think that transmutation can perhaps serve as a good anchor, a beacon of light to remind someone to not get comfortable in that process, to kind of keep seeking what that end would look like. Richard, anything you would add to that?
Um, I was just thinking that in yoga practice, there's a stage where they call it Udana in which actually you start to feel compassion. And so internally, it's when you smile, and you can actually start to all of a sudden feel the triveni up in the frontal sinuses, and but most importantly, that is it allows you to feel others, compassion, and this then starts the more internal process of that yoga. And then, of course, if you say that, then somebody really wants that, and if they do that, then you'll see the tension. I'm gonna relax I'm gonna force myself to relax my mouth so that my tongue becomes silent, or if you put it in the sense, or if you develop lotus eyes, your eyes, because you are seeing everything with love, then we how can I force myself to have lotus eyes? And you'll go to an ophthalmologist. They'll do surgery on your eyes and all kinds of things, and just to see how silly how silly we are with compassion is, my own silliness is almost endearing.
Thank you for that, David.
Well, there's a quote, and I think it's Einstein, but again, it's the gist of it. I'm good at the gist of the quotes, right? Not verbatim. It is impossible to not learn. Any endeavor, we learn something, yeah, no matter what it is. It's impossible to not learn something. So it's the process of making an endeavor. And would you just once again repeat the exact question?
For sure. For sure. We speak of transformation in yoga, but how do we know when we are genuinely transformed versus simply more comfortable?
When you're certified, transformed.
I love that. I want in on that.
Have to start a new transformation certification course so that you really know then, and I don't know how many hours it's going to take, but
at least 20.
At least
20
well,
with 20 with two online weekends. We're good.
two online weekends, 20 hours, yes, and yeah. Transformation is something that just it's an evolution. You know, the transformation comes from an experience. And it's almost impossible to not transform. I mean, we're getting older. My body is certainly transformed from the 17-year-old David or whatever. It's just it's happening, right? But you're right. We want to, it's a word in our current vernacular like gluten. You know, it's like it's just something that's everywhere, right? That so the concept of transformation is just to continue to learn, to have experience, and to try to see with objective eyes as though we're looking at someone else's life. Because it's easy for us to see someone else if they're transforming or growing or descending or whatever. But if we can train to look objectively within and see, first of all, how do we define transformation? Yeah. Um, but hopefully it's a way of becoming more mature and evolving into a more holistic view, which is inclusive of the unknown rather than only our comfort level, but a real transformation would mean that we can become more comfortable with the unknown and the uncertain and even the disagreements we have with others, etc. Our transformation will be proven when we show our equanimity within all of these myriad facets of life beyond our comfort zone. Yeah.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. Lisa,
And
what
I'll
would you
be I'll
say?
be I'll be giving a link for the transformation course at the end of the discussion here.
Make sure I get the early bird special, okay? I called it first. Thank you.
Okay. If you want samadhi, it's extra.
Just in a way, just that we can laugh about this shows what's happened over the last 30 or 40 years, that they're, as Mary suggested, in the public discourse, this kind of instant, this grasping. So I've two things that come to mind. At this late stage of my life, for the first time, I have a garden. I've never had a garden before. And to cultivate the soil, and these images are in the Yoga Sutras, to cultivate the soil, to know that there's good earthworms and where to plant the tubers for my dahlias and how much sun do they need. And it rained last night, so how much water should I give them? And then watching them day by day, slowly evolve and mature is such a joy. And recognizing that it's a partnership. No, it's not me wanting, I can't control how fast or how much or who's going to survive, and maybe the deers will come and eat them all. You know, it's really my ability to be there in that evolving. Um, and since so this is a license plate behind me that says "Be Yoga" on my yoga wall. And I now have a new license plate that says "In Yoga." And somebody asked me recently, what does that mean? I said, well, what does "in love" mean? No, and we immediately kind of know it's a quality that infuses us. And yoga, connecting, union, just connecting with our potential, and that potential of evolving, and the helpful three jewels, to go back to where we began, having the parampara, the community, having the dharma, the teaching, and having a Buddha, the guru, as David began. And that guru can be within oneself, the ability to be present. I think I'd like to end mine, if I could, with something from the tradition that I know in Guruji Iyengar's later years, he used this a lot. It's the 33rd Sutra of the Yoga Sutras. And if I may, I will, as David did, beg forgiveness if I mispronounce, but the meaning is, now, as I cultivate the qualities, and then I'm going to chant it, as I cultivate the qualities of kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, that is, acknowledging another's growth and equanimity, as I actively cultivate those through darkness and light, through aversion and attraction, then my chitta, my being, will become more equanimous, more settled, more compassionate. And if I may, Maitri Karuna Mudito Prakshanam Sukha Dukkha Punya Apunya Vishayanam Bhavanattaha Chitta Prasaranam. So from the tradition, that's a jewel.
That's beautiful. And that's what I love. I'm someone also loves history. Well, history of this kind, and it's amazing, right? The Brahma Vihara and 1.33, right? Living in harmony, living in peace, saying the same message. When you go to temples in India, you get prasad, right? Since you ended with Chitta Prasadanam. Um, I'm I'm okay with most things in life except really, really squishy, overripe bananas. So anytime I would be in line to get prasad, I would be eyeing the laddu. But I can tell you, I've lost how many times, count of how many times I got that extra squishy, overripe, ready to be a banana, bread banana. And it's prasad, right? It's prasadam. So we take it. Just like I took the laddu, we take that prasad, right? So I think that's a good reminder to all of us that, prasad, if you're going to go get prasad from wherever, from a place of worship or just from life, then it will always not be what you're anticipating, desire, craving. Perhaps that's the reason why, it's never that. So thank you for sharing that. Uh, Professor Jaydev, if you don't mind, if I can take the liberty to kind of loop you into this conversation, because you are someone who has been, I lose track of how many years transforming many lives. And I, have been fortunate enough to hear some of those voices, to be in your presence, to hear those stories, to hear those narratives. So I'd love for you to share your thoughts around just generally the concept of transformation.
Is a wonderful word, because whether we like it or not, we are being transformed every moment. But with a little bit of introspection, we are at our own pace. We enjoy the peace. We enjoy the love, the compassion that we spoke so much now. And in this world of collective distress and collective difficulties, it is important for us to see how individually I can be happy, and how I can transfer it to the surrounding. Happiness comes to him from whom the happiness goes out, says a saying in Jainism. So transformation is something that I have been engaged with the whole of my life, at least since the time I was awakened. So I'm always concerned why the balance of mind, the emotional, intellectual, and my relationship with other people doesn't strike a balance that I aspire for. I read the Sthita Prajna state in the Gita. It's a wonderful description, Sthita Prajna. So I've seen a person like that. My Guruji is like that. So when I see my Guruji, he is in that state. And when I see my mind, it's still fluctuating. It's going from one end to the other. So I always aspire that I want to develop. And so I try to find some explanations from childhood and all that. Of course, there is what is called as infant mother co-regulatory phenomenon, everything with something to do with our childhood hurts, childhood influences, and all that. But I understand now that the world is suffering, including me, from a mistrust. So if at all there is a one very common reason why there is so much of agony and anger and violence is because individually when we meet together, as Mr. David said, it's so nice. He said it nicely. When we individually meet, we are so cordial, so nice. But when it becomes to the collective, we make parties. So there is something that all of us have. All of us have compassion. All of us have altruism. All of us have empathy for the others. My happiness is important as much as the other's happiness is. So it is a collective happiness that we are all aspiring for. But in the process, we have reaped only a collective distress. So sometimes I see that if I am harmonious with myself, if I have a balance with myself, I have a balance with the external. So balance internal, the harmony internal paves way for the harmony outside. And the yoga gives back has opened up a new dimension to personal happiness that becomes the happiness of the collective because you are sharing everything. And as such, the work of Dinabandhu, you can see that a lot of individuals are changed into happy people and probably much more than me. Sometimes I feel. So which is a great reward. And I'm working myself with yoga, with my Guruji, with my introspection, meditation, everything put together. I just want to reduce my prejudices. I want to reduce my violence to zero. What inner violence, whatever that, even that at the thought level, I don't want to have it. So this process of inner transformation, the struggle for this transformation, like the candle lights the candle. I have got that candle from my guru. He's a great soul, and I'm sure that he has given that light. But to internalize that light, to make it bright and take out all the veils that are covering it. So that is what is the sadhana. We call in Indian system sadhana. So sadhana includes Ashtanga yoga, everything else. Like the first is trust your neighbor. I have learned that. Once I place the trust, the children have changed. No matter how much they doubt me, I have trusted them. I have been trusting them. So as a result, what has happened? They have changed and they now trust me. And we trust each other. There is a faith in each other. There is a trust. And this trust is building the sympathy, the compassion, the cooperation, everything. So individually we are good. Collectively, we don't have trust. So this kind of an exercise, what Kayoko is doing, wonderful, building the trust among people to say that your presence, as very well said in this conversation, the presence for the sake of others is something That is what is required. Presence for myself is selfishness. The same presence for others also makes my own presence very well, and also it is something that expands. It's evolution. It's evolution.
Thank you, Professor Jayadevji. Really appreciate that. Durga, it'll almost be a shame to not have you looped into this conversation around transformation. So I'd love to hear from you as well.
Namaste all. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone that the discussion was amazing. It was very informational. And from my side, what I feel the transformation is, I think slowly we will start accepting all, like irrespective of all kinds of differences. Like we start accepting all. That's what I felt, because when I did the Vedanta course, like what I feel myself, like I used to complain people, like why people are like this, like that. I used to complain. When I finished the Vedanta course once, then I felt like it's just accept all. It's like everyone are there, everyone are pursuing the path in their own, like they have their own mentality and they're pursuing differently, and everyone are there in the different level. So just accept all and just love everyone, uh, and everyone are working towards the same goal. So like, what I feel the transformation is meaning accepting all.
You need to go on a world tour, traveling everybody with saying that simple message with that beautiful smile of yours, accept all, and I think this world would be a much better place. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts around that. For whoever's here, I would love to open this up. If you have a question you would like to ask, if there's a thought you'd like to share, you can just put your hand up, or if you can unmute yourself uh, and ask your question for the ones who are here present. And we can sit in awkward Zoom silence till someone actually asks that question. And I have a plan B, but yeah. So yeah, please go ahead and ask. I'm telling you from personal experience, very selfishly, it's very rare to have these tiny Zoom windows together at the same time, these folks that you see here. So if there's anything on your mind about life or yoga, they're interconnected, please go ahead and ask.
Yeah, I just want to say, because we're almost finishing, but really appreciate this time together, like Vikram said, and you wrote in the emails that this is like listening to living wisdom, right? Like David said, unless you lived, I don't know, 70 years or 80 years, there are certain things you wouldn't reach to say so in an articulate way. And I'm so glad that we are doing this today. And then also bringing Professor Jayadev and Durga, whom I met at the orphanage so many years ago, and become now a spiritual leader. And you can be the panelist in the future, or lead us with your philosophy. I just feel this connection, this Sangha, is so powerful and so moving always. I always get choked up when I think about, this journey.
Yeah. We had a question come in, and I'm happy to kind of go around the panel. And it's a beautiful question, very simple but deep. What does your practice look like today?
You're looking at it.
Someone asked me that this morning. I said, it is not Instagram worthy.
Well, you know, I think that as your body matures, the practice evolves, transforms, whether you want it to or not. And that fighting it, which is my go-to, doesn't help. That really paying attention to what the needs are as the body changes, and that's what my practice looks like now. And then embracing the parts of the practice like meditation, like pranayama, that are not the asana in full, you know, and so doing the asana in the way the body requires, and watching the body feel good about that, and then using other forms of practice like chanting, etc., that really rounded out in a way when I was younger I just didn't have time for, because I was too young and impulsive. So for me, that's what my practice looks like now. It feels more whole.
Mary, I'm going to ask you a quick follow-up question on that, because that's something that I hear a lot from folks that are younger, right? That there'll be this perfect time to explore the other aspects of practice. So would you say to that it is perhaps as good a time now as any to explore different facets of what that practice could look like? You know, we are all tempted towards the physical realm. We are genetically made to reach outwards with our sense organs. But from your experience, is that something you would recommend and advise younger practitioners to kind of have a more holistic perspective towards practice?
Absolutely. And to notice when, you know, when you are resisting, and then, but to then be kind to yourself on those fronts. Because if, for me, it was always those things were part of my practice, but I really didn't give them the, you know, the whole embrace that I might have. And I feel, you know, it evolved as it should have for me. However, you know, in retrospect, you know, I feel as though I could have saved myself some torture by embracing them more openly as I was younger. And I watch, you know, Richard, you with your pranayama practice that has really evolved over the years, and but that seed was always there, and you always incorporated that, you know, deeply, and that, you know, if you don't do that from the beginning, then you don't have, like Lisa was saying, you don't have the soil rich to then let it grow from. Yeah.
Lots of ants.
Lots of ants and bugs. Yeah.
My practice, for whatever grace, I really respected those ants. And pranayama and meditation were an integral part of my daily experience until I got a dog. And so it's almost like I'm living life backwards. As a child, I didn't really have that much of a real rich family. And so now in the morning, it's a priority to take my puppy out to the beach and the bay, be in the quality of light, you know, and then that kind of loosens my body. And whether it's grandchildren or a baby, for me, it's a puppy. And then when I come back, then at some other time during the day, I'll sit and do my pranayama practice. So that's interesting to kind of accept, you know, that how we love our little things in life. And the actual practice, I have a kind of few things I do on a daily basis to take care of, you know, the issues I've had throughout my life. And those I consider my daily vitamins. And like my guru, I do use more support now than I did when I was younger. So that rather than kind of striving for poses, it's how can I kind of sustain and maintain and be present and allow the prana to move through my body as the props kind of shape my body in different ways. And that's such a rich experience. I mean, I'm incorporating visualizations in the asanas that I never did earlier. So, and sometimes mantra in the pranayam that I never did earlier. So the discovery and the exploration is just profound and really gratifying.
David,
Okay, I guess you're not just going to let me get away with the Instagram not worthy comment. Well, I'll answer in a few different ways. There are different phases with practice. And there's the early phase I call the Labrador dog phase. We're just like, woo, woo, woo. And Patabi Joyce would throw an asana and we bring it back like, oh, yeah, give me another one, give me another one, give me that. And your arm is going to be tired before the dog is tired of chasing the spit-filled, tennis ball. And so there was that phase. There was a phase where we practiced twice a day in Mysore because we were just fired up. And he decided, well, maybe we should practice twice a day. Well, that wasn't enough. He had us do 2 complete sequences in each practice. We do all primary and intermediate in the morning, come back and do advanced day. We had an hour of pranayama, taught us Nauli and Neti and everything. So that's a phase, right? Later, you wake up one day and you smell like Tiger Balm and you're limping around a little and you start questioning, like, why am I doing this? And I realized it was because I wanted to. It wasn't like someone was forcing me to do it. And I describe to people now that this yoga is our medicine, but each practitioner has to become their own physician. Physician, heal thyself. To understand what is the dosage you need. In my earlier days, that's the dosage I wanted. I loved it. It lit me up. It filled me with like enthusiasm and excitement, and that's great. But there's other phases of life where you realize, well, the goal isn't to spend more and more time on the mat. The goal is to spend less and less time on there, but gain the prana and go out and do your good work. So the phases and the dosage changes. And even Patabi Joyce used to say minimum daily practice, 3 Surya A, 3 Surya B, and the final 3 postures of closing. It's 10 minutes. So we somehow would get these ideas that you got to do more and more and more. I also describe it to be like asanas, especially at the beginning, they're like yoga money. It's like currency. And we're fascinated. We're taking these asanas, we're depositing them in our account, and we're just looking in there going at our bank ledger like, wow, check it out. Primary series in the bank, man. I'm living large, but oh, look, Mary Taylor, she's doing an intermediate series. I need intermediate series. Yeah, I want to do that. I goes, and I put my leg, intermediate in the bank. I'm living large. Oh, look, Kayoko, wow, she's doing advanced series. I want to be advanced, man. They must be happier, more well-adjusted people. Why would they want to do that craziness to their body? I'm going to move to the advanced series neighborhood, man. There's better schools there, faster cars, shinier asanas. That's what I need. And we get to the advanced series neighborhood, and you keep going through this. I promise everyone listening, and maybe everyone can relate to this, you will reach a stage that you're going to look in your asana bank account and you're going to start donating them to charity. Dvipada Shirshasana, save the children. It's like, never know why I wanted to turn my feet backwards to begin with, help the children, whatever it is. But this is a difficult moment. I'm just going to share on a more serious note, a just personal story with you guys. So, one of my sort of trademarks was always my bow legs, Swenson's bow legs. I used to joke that I'd be the worst bank robber because I could have a good disguise, but I'd be going away with those bow legs and it'd be an immediate, there goes Swenson, he robbed the bank. A couple years ago, I made a proactive choice to have my knees replaced, total replacement, to get bionic parts in there. And at first I was like, yoga people are going to say, see, yoga caused that. And I'm like, well, my mother had double knee replacement surgery. She didn't do yoga. It's just something that happened. So I asked the doctor, will I be able to do this, that, and the other after? And he just casually says, you'll be able to do anything after surgery that you could before. And I'm like, really? Because I do some weird stuff, Are you sure I'm going to? Yeah, anything. Oh, okay, whatever. And I said, my mother had both knees replaced in the same day. So I want to be like my mother and have both knees in the same day. He goes, wow, your mom might have been a warrior, but yeah, we don't do that anymore. It's too hard on the body. Okay, so I schedule one and then say, make the next one 5 weeks later. After 3 days after the first one, I go, let's just reschedule. And so I wait a few months. Anyway, so I have both knees done. And then I have straight legs. And my loving wife, Shelley, looks at me and those of you who don't know Shelley, she has brown skin. And she says, oh my God, David, I just can't get used to it. It'd be like if you woke up next to me and I was white. And then she says, oh, baby, now you can wear skinny jeans. And I'm like, well, no man in their 60s should wear skinny jeans unless their name is Mick Jagger or Stevie Tyler. But what happened is the day of the first surgery, I sat in Padmasana for 1 hour because I instinctively knew this is the last time I'm ever going to do this. The list of asanas I can no longer do is just massive. It's a huge, long list of asanas. And, I say all this stuff in a lighthearted manner, but I'm also honest with people going, there is a grieving process. And I realized I am like my worst student ever. I've spent decades looking at people and going, it's okay if you can't sit in lotus. It's just one little thing. Yoga is so much bigger than that. Blah, blah, blah. And I say that to myself, and myself looks back at my other self and goes, yeah, it does matter. I don't know what you're talking about. This is me you're talking to. Stop the yoga talk, David. And I realized, yeah, it's difficult because these asanas were my companions for over 50 years. And to see them go away, there was a grieving process. It was almost like I had to have a funeral for them in my psyche. However, it has made me a better teacher. It's made me a more compassionate person. It's made me appreciate the thing that I used to just theoretically say about, all these asanas don't really matter. And ultimately, we've got to give it all up. But this puts it into real tangible thing. Like, yeah, we're giving up asanas, and I can start feeling bad about myself because my knees are stiff, and I see someone with one leg, and I say, whatever. Or I have friends and colleagues that are dying all around me. Nancy Gogoff died. Sharat died. There's a lot of the lightning keeps striking closer and closer, and it really the practice itself, it's the nuances of it and the appreciation for the way I practiced before and how I practice now. And if I live another 10 years, it'll be different then. As humans, we have a tendency for something like this. Let's say there were 100 things I can do, and now there's 98 things I can do. Can only think of the 2 things I can no longer do. So rather than become bummed out about the body's changing or I can't do this or that, I'm more fascinated with what I still can do. I'm like, wow, I can still do that. Oh, I can walk down the street. If a bus is coming at me, I can get out of the way, which I couldn't do before. Um, so my personal practice is just that. It's a personal practice. My wife Shelley and I teach a month of Mysore classes on Maui. And people come in there, and every series of Ashtanga is happening at the same time. There's people doing 4th series, 5th series, 6th series, and there's somebody that's brand new learning a sun salutation, and there's other people in there whose bodies are broken. And I realize as a teacher, it's not fair for me to look at someone in the Labrador dog phase and so don't be like that. Because I can look at that student and go, yeah, I remember that. That's exciting. I'll show you how to do that. But it's also good to relate to the person who's on the other end, going toward the sunset. And so I appreciate the things that I can do and feel greater depth in those things and great appreciation. And I think that the appreciation has grown as the abilities have decreased. Yeah. So that's a huge, long answer to such a simple question.
Thanks, David. I really appreciate it. More than you'll know. And now you know why I was not gonna let you get away with that. It's not Instagrammable comment. Come on. But I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you for
That is
sharing.
also true, though.
That's debatable. I can show you some bad practices on Instagram, but we'll leave it for a different time. Okay. Lisa, David, Richard, Mary, Professor Jayadev, Durga, thank you so much for sharing so openly, so generously, sharing little snippets, nuggets, stories, narratives, lived experiences. So inspiring and so grateful that we get to be with all of you. Okay. Kayoko, all yours.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Vikram.
Yeah, as always, Vikram, you're the best moderator. We are so grateful to have you. Thank you so much.
Woo, woo,
And
woo.
yes, and thank you for the teachers. I want to call senior teachers or master teachers. David, Lisa, Mary, Richard, really, really appreciate it. It was so inspiring and also empowering. And this was a very, very precious time to be together and listening to you. Thank you so much for generously offering your time and your wisdom. I hope we'll continue
Thank you.
every year. This has become an annual tradition, so hopefully this will continue.
I
And
just want to say I love
yeah,
you all, and I just want to, Durga, I've never met you, but I just want to say I am so proud of you. Wow. Fantastic. You're an inspiration. And as someone else pointed out, we're all like riding into the sunset. So you'll give me faith, yeah, that the next chapter is going to be even more wonderful. So, yeah,
Well said.
congratulations. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you.
Thank you, everybody.
thank you so much. So if you
Thank you
can,
all.
yes, we are now shifting to meet our heroes in India. So Durga, Nisarga, Kamala, and Mamata are joining Professor Jayadev, and we'll continue our conversation. So please feel free to stay, or you can check with a recording later. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for all your work. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
everyone.
everyone. You're an
Wonderful to
inspiration,
see
all.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyoko.
Thank you so much. So I hope, yeah, Kamala is here. I think I saw Nisarga earlier. So Professor Jayadev, what do you think of the talk today?
Yeah, it was more spiritual, like moving towards personal enlightenment. It's important to know what's light, and I have always had this. They lead us from darkness to light. There is a saying, from untruth to truth, from death to immortality. There is a sloka. So that has been an aspiration of the humanity, and we pondered on that, and it was really good. And Durga's saying that accept all is a very noble saying, now, because that sounds everything else. So in this world of hatred and separatist attitude and accepting one and all as they are, I think that has been the strength on which Dinabandhu is built because accepting children as they are, not just because they are good, I accept or we accept. Whether they are good, whether they are bad, they belong to me, they belong to us. So that has made a wonderful difference to the world of
Yes.
these children and for my world also, because this is my world now.
Yes.
So
Well,
that's a great saying. Yeah.
Mhm. No, your founding philosophy of love and acceptance
Yes.
is very strong. And Durga, you always talked about how you want to follow the steps of Professor Jayadev, but how is that going? You are muted, sorry.
Everything is going good here, and I'm very happy to be a part of Dinabandhu. And it's more. Uh, it's um, it's like I'm working for myself. Like where when I'm working with people, students, or children here, it's like seeing myself in another angle. Like,
Mm.
so it's a very great chance for me to evolve in spirituality also.
Yeah, I would like to ask Lisa, if you have questions, please also raise hands. But Durga, you studied philosophy after graduating from high school, went to
Yes.
university, and you went to 2 years of intensive course where you didn't even have phones, right? We couldn't communicate that 2 years. You really immersed yourself in the spiritual studies. And why did you decide to come back to Dinabandhu to take care of children?
Yeah. So um, in the course was amazing, and it was really a transformational stage for me, where I could see myself more. So, and I could see the paths clearly, and yes, I love to be in the spiritual path, and but in the course, I could see myself that it's not going away from all to reach that goal. So being with everyone, we can reach the goal in a nice way and good way. Like, yeah, and I took um, to complete my education. I have got help from yoga gives back, and also from my ashram and from other people also, and that helped me. That how you all are helping others. So that also inspired me to help back.
Yeah, that's so nice, so kind. Yeah, thank you so much, Durga. And here is Kamala too. Thank you so much, Kamala, for being here. She also graduated, and you're clinical nutritionist, right? Today. That's
Yes,
amazing.
ma'am. Namaste. So
Namaste.
happy to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. So could you tell us how your work is going and what do you think education, opportunity for education has meant to your life?
Yes, definitely. First of all, I'm so thankful and grateful to you and Dinabandhu Institute because I was not a part of Dinabandhu. They saw me, they saw my struggling, so they thought of helping me, and she scholarship helped me a lot. Without that, I wouldn't be able to finish my post graduation. Basically, graduation somehow I could have managed, but post graduation was like my dream. I never thought I would be able to do masters because of the situation I had at my home, where I did not have my parents. Like, I had lost them when I was a kid. My grandmother used to take care of me, so she thought, like, yeah, like, you people without, like, you are like not blood relatives, but you are helping me to achieve my goals, like be educated. I think that's one of the best thing to do to somebody. Like, you are helping me to earn my bread, like you're making me educated so that I can uh, be educated and be able to get a job and help other people. And definitely that's the best form of help that anybody could do, is by helping other people to educate themselves. Definitely it was the most important part, which helped me to complete my masters and even UG and PG, both of them. After that, I lost my grandmother 3 years ago. Like even before I finished my masters, I lost my grandmother. Like I was alone with my sister. We both are staying at home now, like without anybody's support. Like I could do that only because I was educated. Like I could find some jobs. I could be independent just because I had education to afford, like to put myself in the job market and go and fetch a job. Like now, yeah, it was my dream to become a dietitian. So now, yes, I am working in the same field. It's very rewarding to see people, like help people, and they see the improvements in their health. So something I learned made me help other people to improve their health. So that definitely makes me feel so rewarded. So it's been amazing working in this field. I definitely would like to learn more. I would love to do PhD uh, after a year, or yeah, within the 6 months, if I could crack that exam, if I could get the entry, I want to pursue PhD and do research and further. Yeah, my dream was to win a Nobel, but I'm not sure if I'm capable of that. But I definitely had a dream ever since I was a kid. It's kind of a silly dream that I had. Now I think I can do it. Like I do not have any other thing that could stop me. Like I have come this far, I think I can go. With your support, I could come this far. Like now I have to do something much more so that I can make you all feel proud of what you're doing. It's definitely the most amazing work that you're doing. It's helping me even now. Like it keeps me motivated that somebody helped me to become something, and I don't have to. I should not let this go. I should continue this path to improve myself and do better things, and also help other people. Definitely, yeah, now I kind of want to help other people, like like seeing you all coming together, uh, helping children and helping people to do pursue their higher education. I feel like, yeah, this must be much more rewarding. I would definitely want to follow your path in future. Thank you so much, Kayako ma'am, and thank you, Jaidev sir and Dinabandhu Institute.
Thank you so much. It just, makes our heart so full to hear your story. Lisa, I'm choked up. So would you like to share your observation?
What comes to mind is enthusiasm, and that enthusiasm is contagious. It's that I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I can. And to hear it from an individual, that when we give one another an opportunity, and the right guidance, then everything is possible. And I particularly, just from a personal level, that you've chosen nutrition. That is so basic, and it's something that here in the West, our medical education is just now beginning to find how important that is. So for you to recognize and to kind of help guide the future generation and the current generation to understand that how we caretake the body with what we eat, that's, I think, you mentioned a Nobel Peace Prize. I think it's truly a noble path and a really vital one. So I'm moved and grateful and acknowledge you for your enthusiasm and your dedication.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anybody, if you want to jump in and ask questions, Kamal, I had no idea that you lost your parents and you even lost your grandmother, and you have such strength, like Lisa said, enthusiasm, like really, we talked about light this first session with the teachers. You have so much light in you against all the difficulties. Where does that come from, do you think?
I honestly don't know because it was not a choice for me. Like it was, I had to be strong, and then afterwards I learned like I had that mindset that I cannot live with somebody. But now after everything, I can live without. I can. I have to. I think that's the way life is. I started to accept everything and just even I had like very bad phases of my life, but even then it was like it's the basic thing that we have to survive until it's done. We have to survive, and by surviving, I just realized, yeah, I should have some purpose in life. And I loved studying. I loved I loved reading. I loved studying, so I just continued. I just focused on that, and now it's kind of I have come to a realization that it's no matter what, you have to live like without even when you're alone. It's just a part of life that you have to thrive. So that's how I'm kind of positive now. Like now, before I was always overthinking, negative, a lot of negativity, that I cannot live without this person, I cannot live like this, I cannot live alone. Especially after losing my grandmother, I always thought that I would die right after her passing, but somehow I fought back. Now I'm like, okay, it's just that's how the life is. We just have to be thriving no matter what. So it was not a choice, but somehow I learned it. I had to be strong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. You give us the power, the strength, just hearing your story. Addie,
That's
yeah, it's true. Addie, you just spent a month in a new program called Yoga Without Borders in a girls' school, and you taught yoga with, children from a underserved area. But would you, you have, for the first time you met these girls, would you like to share your thoughts?
Sure. First, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Um, I wasn't expecting to speak, so I'm kind of trying to form what I want to say. But yes, I had the opportunity to visit Dao Dao School, which is an English medium school for girls, impoverished girls in Firozabad. And bring children's yoga to girls from preschool age through ninth grade. And um, being able to share with them, one of the things, it sounds a little cliche, but communication sometimes was difficult, but connection was not. It just felt so connected with the girls, and it was so rewarding and so fun to bring them the practice of yoga, to teach them skills like pranayama, which of course we didn't really use that word, but breathing exercises to help them learn how inside of them they had the power to calm themselves, to focus. And I'm excited. Deb was from Australia, or is from Australia, and we taught together. There's been several group pairs of teachers that have been there since, and I was so excited at our meeting the other day to hear some of the results that they believe are coming from the yoga. The results of the girls being able to be more focused, and what the teachers learned from us and how they're incorporating things that they're learning from the yoga classes. I was one of the things that I guess I just didn't know what to expect. But most of the time, the teachers stayed for the classes with the students, and they just participated as if they were a student. And in addition to, we taught one class a week that was for the teachers specifically, and brought in more of the why behind things we were doing. So I was really excited that that was transformational, and that's something that's been carried into their everyday teaching, because I think yoga can be just a small thing that you do during the day. It doesn't have to be an hour long practice on a mat. It can be just before you have an exam, that you find a way to calm yourself and bring that focus and that presence to your task. But anyway, I'm just very excited about the results. So far, I just expect it to grow.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Adi. Yes, yeah, really appreciate it. We have a new we are trying to recruit new volunteers, maybe to go to Dinabandhu school in the future next year. Elodie, did you already go to India, or you're going already now next? Are you? Yeah, so would you like to share your impression from hearing? Thank you, Addie.
Thank
Sorry to
you.
put you on the spot, but if you want to have, if you have any comments for the listening to Kamala's story or Durga or Professor Jayadev.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm going to India actually for the month of October with Emmeline, who is from America, and I'm really excited, and it has been a beautiful moment hearing the different stories from Kamala, from Durga, and even like the inspirational senior teachers. It's wonderful to be part of this incredible human experience, and I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you, Debbie, for your Abby, sorry, Abby, for your sharing experience. It's yeah, it counts a lot, and yeah, I'm really excited to meet the girls, and yeah, the field of possibilities is completely open, so I'm really looking forward to see what grows from the seeds we're gonna sow together. So yeah, I'm really, really enthusiastic.
Thank you so much. Where are you, Elodie?
I'm in France.
Are you in France? Yeah, it's a very
Yeah,
international group. Thank you for staying. Thank you so much.
it
Professor
has been a
Jayadev,
pleasure.
thank you so much. Hearing everyone's talks, especially Kamala and Durga's stories, what comes to your mind?
I really appreciate Kamala saying that she wants to win Nobel Prize.
Yes.
Actually, that was one thought that was ringing, was going around when I was as a beginner, as a student, because that kind of a thought comes, and I want to do something very novel in the field of science. But it's good to see Kamala accepting things as they are. And that's, she repeatedly said that life is like this. Yes, everything changes. And because everything changes and there is nothing that we can do about it, the best thing is to accept it. Accept it without resistance, and be in harmony with the change. When you resist, that becomes a source of uh, inner conflict. So to have a life without conflict, a life that is consorting, that's in the wavelength of nature, is the best. That's a good realization to this young age. I wish her all the best.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm just trying to see if not Nisarga's name is nothing A063. I'm not sure. Maybe she couldn't join. I saw her name earlier, but maybe she couldn't join. But thank you so much for being here. I know it's late in India too, but it was so meaningful to hear all your stories. It was so moving. And I just hope, we'll come to visit you next year, and hope to see you again. And just very exciting to see all the students and graduates are doing amazing work, right, Jadeb? Like we've seen so many graduates doing so many great work and always having this idea of paying it forward, giving back, helping others at the forefront is so moving.
Ketan is in the team, so he's so very, very balanced approach
Yes,
he has, a very
yes,
cautious and balanced approach. That's
yes,
adding to the quality of work that's going on with our YGP, scholarship work. It's
yeah.
we have a very smooth functioning with the YGP scholarship because it's very well at ground level. Somebody needs to think very
Mhm.
appropriately and very
Yes,
critically, and Ketan has been doing that so very well.
yeah. Kaden, thank you so much for helping us organize always this live conversation. It's so important and so um, grateful that we can do this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. How do you feel like right now, we are working towards applying the next grant and, so on, but how do you feel the scholarship program is going?
Yeah, actually, you asked some statistics for your website, and that was an interesting exercise for us because we were just going through all the old profiles, and we have so many old students. They are earning, and Prakash sir knew most of them, and we were feeling very happy that a lot of our old students they are doing good in life and they are settled somewhere. And I think it was around, I don't remember, maybe around 100. Well, we have given scholarship to a lot, I think around 200 or something, and at least 100 of them, we are still giving to around 143 or something. And more than 100 of them, we are still in touch, and they're all doing good in life. And it was so, heartening to see those statistics. And yeah, and again, the whole discussion was very nice, and about how so many people are coming together, they are sharing the light, and especially what Kamala spoke, it was very moving as well, and how
Yes.
she's going on with her life. So thank you for everything.
No, thank you so much. So I think we'll conclude this session, but really appreciate you being here, Jayadev, Durga, Kedan, Kamala, and Adi and Elodie staying through. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Kyoko. Bringing people together is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
And we wish to see you in January.
Yes, definitely. This time, definitely coming. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening
Thank
or
you.
good
Thank you so much.
morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Lily, for supporting. She was helping behind the scenes. Thank you. Bye, everyone.